As we continue Summer Blockbuster Month, let's take a trip back in time. It's July 2008. You're on your way to your friend's house for a movie night, so you stop by Blockbuster Video to grab something to watch. You check the new release wall and find Journey to the Center of the Earth. You think to yourself, didn't this movie just come out last weekend? How can it possibly be out on DVD already? The cover doesn't look quite right, but you figure, what the heck? But it isn't until you pop the disc into the DVD player that you realize your mistake. You won't be watching the adventures of Brendan Fraser. Instead, you're watching a low-budget ripoff created by a film company called The Asylum. This independent film distributor specializes in making movies designed to trick people into renting their products, all the while staying generic enough to avoid any potential legal issues, and seeming not to care much about quality. Today we take a look at The Asylum, the masters of the so-called mockbuster. In the year 1997, The Asylum was founded by director David Michael Latt and former Village Roadshow executives David Rimmelwe and Sherry Strain. They started out by making straight-to-DVD movies mostly in the horror genre, including such classics as Scarecrow, Scarecrow Slayer, Death Valley, The Revenge of Bloody Bill, Vampires vs. Zombies, and of course, King of the Ants. But due to the oversaturation of the market, they struggled to find much success. All of that changed, however, in 2005. You see, at that time, Steven Spielberg was making War of the Worlds, starring Tom Cruise, a big-budget update of the H.G. Wells story, which was released into theaters on June 29, 2005. Simultaneously, The Asylum was making their own adaptation of the book, and they chose, I'm sure by complete coincidence, to release their version on DVD on June 28th, one day earlier. And this decision would pay off. Blockbuster Video happened to order way more of this movie than any of their previous releases, maybe hoping to rent some copies to uninformed customers who wanted to see a new release earlier than they thought that they could. Whatever the reason, it was good for business at The Asylum, and so they adapted their release strategy for future films. From this point on, when a big movie was coming out in theaters, The Asylum would put out a suspiciously similar title for home rental. Universal puts out Transformers. Check the video store for Transmorphers. Tom Hanks is in the Da Vinci Code. How about the Da Vinci Treasure? Snakes on a plane not crazy enough for you? Here's Snakes on a Train. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too popular? Try Alan Quatermain and the Temple of Skulls. The MCU releases Thor? Be careful not to fall for Almighty Thor. Giant robots duking it out in Pacific Rim? Obviously, there should be an Atlantic Rim. Even kinky drama films aren't immune to The Asylum, as 50 Shades of Grey becomes Bound. Personally, the first movie put out by The Asylum that I saw was I Am Omega, but instead of seeing Will Smith struggle with being the only person left on Earth, I found myself watching Mark Dacascos fighting off zombies with his kung fu skills. That's right, the guy from Iron Chef stars in a direct-to-DVD movie about zombies. I don't ever want to hear anybody saying they don't learn things by watching my videos. And this is all just scratching the surface of what they put out over the last 24 years. Their releases might only have the name in common with the movie that they're trying to look similar to, but that's the only thing that matters when you only need someone to mistakenly rent it and not actually enjoy the movie. As the years have gone by, The Asylum has stretched out a bit to reach new audiences. In 2007, with their movie The Apocalypse, they began to insert religious themes into some of their movies. They realized pretty quickly that those seeking this kind of entertainment probably weren't looking for movies made by someone called The Asylum. And so they created a separate division called Faith Films to distribute movies with religious content. And even their Christian movies would follow the mockbuster trend with the release of their response to High School Musical, Sunday School Musical. With almost all of their content being aimed at adults, they realized they were also missing out on the kid demographic. So they went on to produce 4 animated films throughout the years. Aping Finding Dory in 2016 with Izzy's Way Home. The same year turned Trolls into Trollland. 2017 brought us Car Go, which of course is responding to Cars 3. And then finally in 2020, they released Homeward, to coincide with Pixar's Onward.
Do you know what's wrong with you?
And while the Asylum does try to avoid getting into legal trouble, they have found themselves in some hot water from time to time. Back in 2008, they were almost sued when their film The Day the Earth Stopped seemed a little too similar to The Day the Earth Stood Still. In 2012, they had a similar problem when American Battleship was changed to American Warship because it was too close to Universal's Battleship, based on the popular board game.
Oh, you hurt my battleship!
And finally, in 2013, when the Asylum tried to release a movie called Age of the Hobbits, they were told that it had to be changed, eventually settling on Lord of the Elves. After years of specializing in schlock, it was only a matter of time until the Asylum would team up with TV's home for B-movies, Sci-Fi. And what they came up with surprised everyone, mostly with how popular it became. Sharknado originally aired in July of 2013. The movie stars Tara Reid and Ian Zerning, and is about, you guessed it, a Sharknado. When the movie first premiered, it was seen as a bit of a disappointment, as viewership was under the average of other sci-fi original movies. But after it started to trend on Twitter, more people started to watch, and the number of viewers increased with every repeat showing, eventually setting a record for Sci-Fi with its third airing having 2.1 million viewers. And Sci-Fi wasn't the only one reaping the benefits. It was a big success for the Asylum as well, seeing their revenue make a big jump from $5 million in 2009 to $19 million in 2013. Because of its wild success, a sequel was inevitable, and for the next 5 years we would see a new Sharknado movie released every summer. Sharknado 2, the second one. Sharknado 3, oh hell no. Sharknado, The Fourth Awakens. Sharknado 5, Global Spawning. And then finally, the last Sharknado, It's About Time. The series would also feature 2 spin-off movies, Lavalantula in 2015 and To Lava, To Lantula in 2016. And I promise you, these are all real movie titles.
Awesome!
Most movies released by the Asylum take themselves pretty seriously, but Sharknado knew what it was from the beginning and played into the comedy. Now, were they good at it? I'll let you make your own decision on that. Sci-Fi and the Asylum would continue their partnership in 2014 with the TV series Z Nation. It ran for a total of 5 seasons and was made up of 68 episodes. In 2019, Netflix would step in and have the Asylum create a prequel series called Black Summer, whose second season is being released on June 17th of this year. Even all these years later, the Asylum doesn't seem to be slowing down. With the release of Ape vs. Monster this year, we can see that they are keeping the mockbuster model alive. The fact that they've been around for as long as they have and found at least enough success to keep doing what they're doing is kind of inspiring, even though the movies themselves often leave plenty to be desired. And so the next time you're checking out the red box or browsing Amazon to find a movie to watch, and you think you see that new release available before you thought it would be, give it a second look, because you want to make sure you're not accidentally stepping into the Asylum. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see all of our new videos. And if you've ever seen an Asylum movie, let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't seen one, which movie that I showed you today seems like the most crazy one. Next week, we'll be continuing Blockbuster Month by talking a little Star Wars with Shadows of the Empire, the blockbuster that never was. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope to see you there.